Brothers and sisters, your brother G World 7_D at the track. Where's that? I want to kind of finish up on the video that I did yesterday. I want to emphasize the point is that there was always constant travel using boats and ships, different forms of type of boats and ships to travel around the world and catching wind currents. And I want to emphasize that. I'm giving you sources. I want to emphasize that because there's so many people keep hollering about DNA and they from West Africa and they trace their DNA to West Africa. By me showing you that there was many people who traveled through ships globally, to sit there and say that you just come from West Africa and that's where all our people came from, West Africa, and it was landlocked. It's asinine and insane. It's ignorant and it's not being informed. And you're allowing outsiders to dictate who you are or to construct your history, which we should not be doing. Our history, part of our history is known to being sea travelers. So we travel the globe, study the stars, the sun, and the moon. We constantly studied. Remember I told you how they had lenses that were able to see the sky closer, were able to study the stars. I mentioned how our ancestors were had ancient observatory. And they had this in various different places, just constantly studying stargazing. A lot of those pyramids are lined up with the stars. You have to understand that. So they didn't worship it, they were fascinated with it. There was always a constant push for knowledge from my ancestors. And when I'm hearing from these individuals who keep saying that we just from some West African slaves and our DNA go to West Africa, those are individuals who stuck on neutral or just stuck on that word S, which is stupid. And they continue to have a voice in our community, and that's by design. The DNA that they use for the Americas is basically pale Asiatic people who are not even original so-called Mongoloid people. And I've said that over and over again. So we got to be careful how we interpret things. That's what I'm saying. You have to critically study. Majority of our ancestors did not come over here in no boat. We were already here. I'll repeat this again. The majority of our ancestors were already here because black people, Aboriginal people, Negro people were the original people in every continent. They weren't original people in every continent. They weren't just stuck in Africa. And I told you before about Africa, how they had those Great Lakes. And as those Great Lakes dried up, many different river streams dried up, some of them people moved out into different regions where the river was, they can ever travel by river or fish to get their game within the water base. And once that water area dried up, that game started to dry up or die up, or that game might have to migrate to another river stream in order to survive. So they had to basically, in order for them to survive or have a way of life, they had to migrate to different regions. This stuff is common sense, but I don't guess. I know that we're not taught to critically think. And that's the main thing. You're not taught to critically think. You're just taught to take the information for face value in your books written by white people. And then with some Negroes help, or they put a Negro face like Louis Henry Gates, who's a complete sellout, to try and interpret your history. Anyone, I'm going to say this again, anyone who's still telling you that you're a descendant of West African slaves, that we come from West Africa, is ignorant and is a sellout. I call them a sellout because they're not taking the time to know the truth. I always said, see no truth, hear no truth, speak no truth, smell no truth. I'm telling you, these Negroes, man, had this victim mentality, and they do not want to study something that was beyond the scope that was given to them in these schools because they're being indoctrinated heavily. So you have to understand that our history goes beyond slavery. That's why I emphasize that. That's why I always emphasize ships, because people was always selling. They was always trading. They was also selling other places. That's why you see these large heads carved into rock bed. There was always a connection. You look at these pyramids, they're aligned like an alignment with one another around the damn globe. because they align a lot of that stuff with the stars. But see, when you listen to people who continue to tell you that you're just a slave from West Africa, and then get people trying to dog out Dr. Ivan Ben Sertima, I mean, just totally trash the man. That just tells me, man, you got a bunch of paid agent coons. You got a bunch of paid agent coons. I had my disagreements with Ben Sertima, but he was coming there. He was coming there. I think I remember he said it wasn't to the age of when he got to 35 that he started to become more conscious of things. If I'm correct, his first wife was a white woman, man. And then he married Jacqueline, who designed the covers of his books. All right. He started to change more and more. You start reading his books, you started coming more harder, man. And attacking a lot of these little white races when it comes to history. Now, I've heard that he even locked himself in his little his bookcase, or not one of his bookcase, but his book room, man, because he was just starting that racism was supposed to get into. I don't know how true that is, but the brother, man, was dealing with a lot of racism and then a lot of attacks from Negroes who don't want to believe that the original people in the Americas were black. And at first he said he was talking about the presence. Then later on he was mentioning, okay, the original people here were black. All right. But it took some time from him. He still wasn't fully there, but he was getting there. And I'm trying to tell you, brothers and sisters, the information's there, but you're going to have to study it, man. You're going to study. Now, you had Leo Weiner with his books, the Harvard professor, if I'm correct, Harvard professor. He had his books going back in the day, and back in the 20s and 30s when the books were written. And then you had obviously J. Rogers touched on that, But you had other people that touched on it. But the main emphasis and point I'm getting here is that we've been here. And like I said, I always emphasize in the ships and boats and boat travel. I think we really need to start, once you start studying that and start to understand that, you start to understand that a lot of stuff that we brought over here, some sardines, slave ships, doesn't make any sense. But also, you can also study the fact is that they had many different docking ports, like I mentioned before, that are now buried underwater due to the rise of the sea level. So a lot of that stuff was being built prior to the end of the last ice age. So that tells you how far back a lot of stuff will go. We got to stop. I repeat, stop saying that you're slaves from Africa. That is wrong information. I showed you the pictures of the black nobility. I talked about the black nobility who ruled Europe. I talked about the very different black groups and how our downfall, excuse me, is that we're fighting amongst each other. Excuse me, on every continent. That's something we got to understand, is that we are fighting amongst each other. Allow other people to position themselves into position of power. Now let me say this also. I said before how you get a lot of these non-Aboriginal blacks trying to tell us who we are. I'm going to say this again. Do not allow someone who's not of your lineage to tell you who you are. And that includes certain Negroes who look closer to you. Because a lot of them have an agenda, and it seems like it's really a special hatred towards Aboriginals, or people who want to identify with the Aboriginal heritage, particularly ones here in America. So they obviously so like someone with an invested interest to keep us ignorant of our true history. And unfortunately, many of them, some of them have our bloodline too. So we had to also think about that. These niggas be smoking that weed like crazy. I smell it hard this morning. And, all right, but yeah. So you have to understand that we got to stop thinking of ourselves as being subservient to other groups. I said before, don't come to me with that Wakanda nonsense, man. I do not start worshiping people who fled their damn land. They ain't gonna sit there and tell you have no culture and tell you who you are. They fled their damn land. You can't say nothing to me. You can't tell me nothing. You fled your damn country. Don't tell me anything. And this doesn't apply to all. But these Negroes who want to sit there and talk down on us and sit there and say we hate ourselves, no. You fled your country. You hate yourself. Don't come to me with that mess, man. You fled your country. And you got nerve, and then you reap off the benefits that my people fought for? Or we already had foundationally here? Man, go to hell. You fled your damn country. You don't ever say nothing to me. You can't say nothing to me. A flea can't say a damn thing to me. All right, so I want to emphasize that to basically brothers and sisters who had an Aboriginal bloodline. Do not use goofy terms like Umar Johnson, American Africans. Make yourself a foreigner in your homeland. Cats like that, man, are enemies to our people. And they have not done no real research or no study or nothing. So that's why I give you the sources of various different information. It's piles of information that would tell you your history. Now, I read those books by Ben Sedima, those by Transaction Books, like I said before. That's no longer publication. I think that was a small press or something he was working with. But they came before Columbus. That's the one that's being pushed. The one that came out in 77, or 76, 77. But these other ones that follow up have even more information up in there. And it's hard to get those books because like I said, they're no longer in publication. And you try to get it, people try to price you for $200 and $500 for the damn book. And there's a fourth one. I'm gonna try to dig the fourth one out. It's to reply to my critics. That's the fourth one that he did when they came before Columbus thing. All right. So this is something that we're gonna have to really understand and truly understand about the Moorish or the Aboriginal Black European rule in Europe, and the Aboriginal Black rule in the Americas. And you had the Black empires in Africa. You had the Aboriginal Black people in the land of Asia, Asa. You had Aboriginal Black people in the Pacific Islands and Australia. We were all over the damn place. All right, we weren't landlocked in one region. And when you look at so many Black Americans, Aboriginal Americans, you can tell the diversity in our look because we had the diversity of the various different Black groups. The way we look, even our hair texture is not one type of hair texture. So when you get these Negroes, who generally not of Aboriginal Black American descent, talking about featureism, colorism, man, they don't know our history. They really don't. They really don't. And it's bothersome. And that even some of our people even listen to them clowns. But you got to start waking up, man. Start waking up and learning your true history. It's there. It's there for your taking. It's there for your reach. It's there for you, but you're going to have to want it. And I feel that some people don't really want it. They want to be slaves from Africa. Well, the DNA said it. DNA, really? Like I said before, the so-called DNA is used here in America is that of pale, mixed Asians who are not indigenous to this land. They were used by many of our ancestors as sacrifices. All right? The information is there, but you're going to have to get off of your ass and get it. It's there. It's there. I'm going to say this again. Anyone who's telling you that you're a descendant of African slaves is a coon. I'm not going to be kind with my words. They are a coon. They're a sellout. They are a traitor. And they're very ignorant. Anyone who's continuing to tell you that. You're not descendant of African slaves. You're descendant of the Aboriginal Black Indians that were already here, and the Black Europeans, some Black Asians and Pacific Islanders, some Black Australians that were here. And I'm saying no Africans didn't come here because they mixed in with the Aboriginal Blacks here, but they were absorbed because the majority of the people here were Black in the first place. The other people did not come till later, much later. All through the Americas, originally from Argentina, yes, Argentina, all the way up to damn Canada with nothing but Negroes at one point. Not just Brazil, going down to Argentina. All of it was Negroes, period. I know it's hard to fathom for some people, man. I know it's hard to contemplate. I know it's hard to intake, but that's the fact. That's not my opinion, that's a damn fact. Pale-skinned people come from us, period. We are the original people on this planet, period. And these fools know this, man. They know they pale ass not indigenous to no damn ancient Egypt, ancient Peru, where the heat index is so damn high, man. Obviously people of a chocolate skin complexion. Give me a damn break. to study it. Study the land of Peru, Heru. Study Utah, Ptah. Study California, the great land of the Caliph. Study La Florida, and study Marais. This is your land, man. The information really, it really makes me laugh because it's right under your fingertips. Sometimes you just walking on top of the information is right there. It's telling you. And so many times the ancestors are trying to tell us, but we don't want to hear it. And I'm telling you this, man. I'm begging, brothers and sisters, do your research. Do not listen to these Negroes that tell you come from slaves. That's a lie. That's a lie. That's a damn lie. Stop listening to these boule Negroes whose main objective is to be integrated and so they can lay up and marry white folks and produce with them. They're sick. I'm gonna tell you right now, leave those Negroes alone. Study your true history. Your information's there. Study your true history. The information's there. And this is not no hotep knowledge. That's another one of these little liberal Negroes be pushing out. This is your true history. Get your true history. It is there. It is for you. It is yours. Get it. Get it all back. Peace and love.